Hi, I'm the Warrior Witch, and you can call me Nike. It's so hot today. It's been hot this whole week and I'm continuing to suffer because we don't have air conditioning. Woohoo! Today we're going to be talking about witchcraft misconceptions, and by this I don't mean from the outside looking in, like it's all devil worship kind of misconceptions, but more of misconceptions that newer witches may have about witchcraft in general, either the community or certain aspects of practice. There's no other way to introduce it, so let's get into it. You might be led to believe, especially if you are extremely new, that Wicca equals witchcraft. These two concepts get conflated a lot, and there are even books that may say as much, but I promise you, there is more to witchcraft than just Wicca. And this extends to other European practices as well. Witchcraft is not just a European concept in its existence as we think about it in the community. Magic specifically is a little bit more of a European concept, but paganism and witchcraft and workings and conjure are not just European specific, because you'll hear a lot about the Greek pantheon and Greek magic, the Norse pantheon and Norse magic, and Wicca and more neo-pagan religions and the Celtic religion, stuff that all circles around the European area, but there are all sorts of folk traditions from all sorts of areas, including places like Asia and Africa that don't get talked a lot about. We know some about Native American spirituality, but much like most African spirituality and African religions, they are closed. Science and spirituality often get slated as though they have no place mixing together, as if spirituality and religious concepts have no place talking to science, and that science must always disprove spirituality and religious concepts. And that's just not true. I've spoken about it before with regard to certain plants and how the first doctors were considered witches in that they would make tinctures and salves and things like that, and it was considered magic, but it's not. Just like how the Norse people had women take care of the money because math was considered witchcraft and only women were able to practice witchcraft. Often I've found that spirituality and science have way more mixing than you might think, and in fact, back in the day, before more modern times in the medieval era and things like that, spirituality and science were directly linked. Not everything is a sign. Now, Olivia has a really good video about this that I'm gonna link. I'm gonna get this first try right here. Yes. Olivia has a great video about not everything's a sign, and it's really great to listen to, so I'm not gonna go so much in depth as she did there, so if you wanna hear more about this specific point, please go watch her video. But yeah, not everything's a sign. Not everything's gonna be a sign from your deity, from your spirits, from your spirit guides, from your ancestors, from the Fae. Not everything's a sign. Usually a sign is going to punch you in the face with how very, very direct it is. You're gonna know, oh yeah, this is a sign, yep. Finding a penny on your doorstep, maybe a little weird. Finding a penny on your doorstep every day for a week, really suspicious. Finding a penny in your bedroom every day for a week when you know you've cleaned off that dresser, that's a little bit more of a punch to the face. So you really need to make sure you're putting the mundane before the magical, because 99% of the time, it's not a sign. The weather is the weather, not a sign. A penny on the ground fell out of somebody's pocket, a feather was shed by a bird. Most of the time it's gonna be pretty mundane. And on top of this point, giving the wrong offering to a deity is not gonna make them hate you. It's not gonna make them suddenly stop working with you. It's not gonna put your life in danger. You're probably fine. They may want you to do a little bit of extra work to make up for that. They want you to do the right thing based on their desires, their plans, and what they've told you they want, but you're not gonna die. You're not in immediate danger because you put out almond oil instead of olive oil. You're fine, I promise. In all likelihood, the Fae are not trying to contact you, especially if you live in a big city. The Fae do not like big cities, they do not like modern technology. They're probably not reaching out to you. You probably get really excited because you read a lot of the folklore and you hear a lot of people, especially on TikTok, talking about them, but in all likelihood, you are not working with the Fae, and most of the people that say they are probably aren't also. Some are, legitimately. Some people do work with the Fae, it's true. but a lot of the things that you may read as signs as from the Fae aren't. Especially if you don't have any Celtic background and you're not in the region that the Fae folklore is from, it's really rare. So if you think you're being reached out to by the Fae, especially if you're scared of them, don't worry. It's probably not them, and even if it is, you can always decline. So in this strand of deities and Fae, spirits in general, entities in general, something reaching out to you does not automatically mean you have to work with them. I covered this in my deities video, but it applies to spirits and Fae and other entities as well. Just because something reaches out does not mean you are obligated to work with them. You are free to say no. This one is a little bit more entwined with capitalism and this like buy culture where you have to spend money in order to be valuable or in order to have the right stuff to be able to be successful, especially in spiritual endeavors. Now, this concept has been around a long time, and our most notable points in history include things like Christianity, where they were selling indulgences to sort of buy your way into heaven. This concept of you have to spend money in order to be properly spiritual, in order to have the proper tools, can be really damaging because I've said it before, but witches of old didn't just go out and buy everything, they used what they had in their environment. So this idea that our tools define us as a proper witch, and if you don't have the right tools, you're not a proper witch, it's garbage. Just throw that concept right out. Having those things can be great. Having them can be a lot of fun. I've certainly bought a couple of tools, a couple of resources, but it doesn't make or break my practice if I don't have those things. I could get things done without those tools. They just help. So don't feel like you have to buy everything, you have to have all these things. If you really want it, you can usually make it yourself. You probably don't need a mentor or a teacher. This one's gonna be sort of an asterisk point, but generally, a mentor or a teacher is sort of this concept that we're ingrained with that you can only learn through somebody teaching you. And this is yes and no. Certain things, especially closed practices where you need to find a priest, like with voodoo and hoodoo, you do need somebody to teach you and guide you through because those practices are not things that have every bit of information out there. You do need somebody to teach you the things that aren't going to be found on your own. But most witchcraft you're going to be able to find on your own. Most witchcraft you're going to be able to do on your own. You're going to be able to learn on your own by going back to the concept I always go back to, through proper research, you will be able to get by just fine. And most practices, folklore, ceremonial, you're able to teach yourself. It's great to have a teacher, it's great to have a mentor, and if you can get one of those things and you really truly want one, sure, go and maybe go look into that. But don't feel like you'll never be able to be a witch without one. This one I addressed a little bit in my spellwork video, but I wanted to touch on it again. A spell backfiring does not always mean you're in danger or you're going to get hurt or your life is going to get messed up. I don't remember if I told the story, but if I have, I'll tell it again anyway. My first money bowl backfired on me. Now, I didn't suddenly lose all the money in my bank account, I wasn't suddenly broke, I didn't suddenly owe a bunch of money. The way it worked was, I wanted to receive money in one specific way through photography. And instead, the next day after doing my money bowl, I had 3 different people messaging me saying, hey, can you draw something for me? It was in the same vein, but because I wasn't specific enough, it did technically backfire. Backfiring doesn't always mean it went the opposite way. It can just mean it didn't go the way you intended. The road you wanted it to take was not the road that it went down. I know that I've heard other stories of trying to banish somebody from your life, but instead you banished them from the country. Oops! That's technically a backfire. It didn't go the way you wanted it to go. It's not always going to hurt you, it's not always going to hurt them, it just didn't go the way you wanted. That's all. So don't be afraid. Spells backfiring is how you learn. Now, this one can be controversial, and I've touched on it before, but if you are extremely new to the witchcraft community, you may hear this concept of love and light and being a light worker, and it may come across like that's what witchcraft is light working and love and light, and that's what it is. Don't do any of the bad stuff. You'll hear about the rule of 3. You'll hear all these things, but you guys gotta understand that love and light workers is not the same as witchcraft. And people put them together a lot because you can do both, but just like voodoo is the religion and hoodoo is the spirituality, just like Wicca is the religion and witchcraft is the spiritual practice. They're not the same thing. It goes into the concept of toxic positivity, which I've touched on in the past, but don't believe that the only option for you is to try to be a light worker, is to try to do love and light. If that's not the path that you're drawn to, it doesn't have to be your path. It's not mine, and I don't care if somebody else does it. More power to you. If being a light worker is your path, heck yeah, go after it. But don't feel like it's the only path, because it's not. Just like in anything else, there are tons of other paths in witchcraft, so explore them. And finally, to build off that, witchcraft isn't always safe. Yes, there are concepts that are really easy and generally pretty safe. Meditation, visualization, a lot of the more basic beginner spells, protections, wards, those can be great, but witchcraft is not always safe. Witchcraft is not always easy, and honestly, it's not really for the faint of heart. If you want to stick to meditation and visualization and those kinds of concepts, the easier or more basic concepts, go for that. But you have to understand, if you are legitimately trying to get deeper into witchcraft, you're gonna run into concepts that are dangerous, that are harder, that come with risks, and it's why we preach so hard about being safe, about protecting yourself, about wards and banishing and cleansing. There's a reason for it, because things are not always safe. Deities don't always have your best interest in mind. Spirits and entities and the Fae do not have your best interest in mind. They have theirs. And if they're working with you, it's not because they're your friends, it's not because they're your family, it's a working relationship. They want something, you want something. So you give something to them so that they give back. It's a trade. It's not just that they'll do all this stuff for free because they want your life to be good, because that's usually not how that goes. The exception being like spirit guides and your ancestors. Minus those, most spirits have their own wants and needs, just like any other person out in the world. Not everybody's gonna be nice. Not everybody's gonna have good intentions for you, and if you do something for them, they might not give back what you want. So you have to be careful. And even just in spell work, parts of spell work can be really dangerous, and there's a reason that we tell you to research and research and research and really know what you're doing before you do anything dangerous, because it's dangerous. There's no other way to put it. You can really get injured. So don't go risking it if you don't know anything about it. And especially if you don't know how to undo it, don't do it. Don't do it at all. At all. You wouldn't start a fire if you didn't know proper fire safety, if you didn't know how to put that out, would you? God, I hope not. I hope you know how to put out a fire if you're messing with fire. Please know how to put out fire if you're gonna play with fire. I mean like literal fire. Please know fire safety. Same thing goes with witchcraft. And that's all I've got for you guys this week. So I'll see you next time, and blessed be.